Hello everyone, wishing you a peaceful and beautiful day. After a long day apart, the moment Toan softly asked, "Can I kiss you?" and Tu Diem gave a gentle nod, dissolved all the distance and exhaustion between them. What makes these simple people wait for each other until the very end of the day? Now let's discover the story of Toan and Tu Diem together. If you enjoy this, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. The first light of the new year slips through the wooden slats and settles on the small table. Tu Diem pours water with a slow, gentle smile. Toan sits across from her, cup in hand, eyes fixed on her. The scent of tet smoke still lingers in the house, yet their talk has already returned to daily work. He says he will buy peeled wood to build shelves for bowls and chopsticks so everything stays neat. His voice is low and steady, like a promise. She nods, her eyes bright when he says he will finish all the farm work before looking for a new job. She understands he is trying to make up for what they lack. He tells her to be careful when harvesting corn and to keep him in her thoughts. She smiles, her heart warming. They pass water to each other, just a cup, yet it holds all their care. She stands to leave. He rises too, his gaze following her slender figure. He wishes her good sales and a smooth year. She steps out carrying his warmth. He remains with his tools, heart heavy but determined. Morning sunlight stretches along the red dirt path. Banana leaf shadows sway like their emotions. Love is steady but fragile because tomorrow is uncertain. Toan stays on the porch, still holding the cup. He calls after her, reminding her not to overwork and to walk carefully. She turns back with a shy smile and firm eyes. She says he is always in her mind. They offer water once more, as if slowing time. He wishes her an early harvest and an early return. She thanks him softly and walks away. The feeling of missing her appears, even though the distance is only for a few hours. He says one day he will teach her to ride a motorbike and buy phones so he can call and pick her up if she is late. She shakes her head because she is used to walking, yet hope flickers in her eyes. The last words are simple. "I love you. Be careful." Her figure fades behind the bamboo grove. He turns back inside, gripping his tools tighter, determined to finish so she will return to a tidy home. The red dirt road runs under the sun. Tu Diem walks with light steps. The basket on her back still carries his voice. At the small roadside sawmill, she greets the worker and asks for peeled cores to make shelves. He smiles and tells her the crew is still off for Tet and she can take as much as she needs. She ties the wood carefully. Each piece feels like a promise of stability. In the field, the rows of purple corn stand tall. The kernels shine. Her hands move slowly and firmly. She murmurs the benefits. Rich in anthocyanin, good for the heart, reduces bad cholesterol, supports blood sugar, helps eyes and skin. Every ear of corn becomes part of their shared income. The field wind carries the smell of wet soil and corn leaves. She imagines him working at home. Smoke from burning straw passes by. She frowns for a second and smiles again. Life is simple but full of hope. When the basket is full, she straightens and looks toward home. The thought of telling him about her sales makes her lighter. Sunlight through the tassels paints her face gold. The midday market is crowded and hot. Voices, charcoal smoke, and ripe fruit mix in the air. She spreads a small mat and arranges the purple corn neatly. People stop and ask. She explains how to boil to keep the color, how to cook sweet sticky rice, how to soak in wine for heart health and blood sugar balance. A woman asks if it is sweet and buys some. An older lady laughs and says she cooks it for her husband every year and buys 5 kilos. She weighs carefully and thanks each customer. Every coin makes her heart lighter. Someone notices a few white ears mixed in. She apologizes and replaces them with the deepest purple ones. Sweat runs down her cheeks, but her smile stays. Selling means happiness because she knows he is working for her at home. As the afternoon lowers, the basket empties. She packs up and thanks everyone. The path home appears in her mind, the place where he waits. All the tiredness fades at the thought of his embrace. Golden light slips through the door cracks and falls on the damp cement. Toan wipes sweat from his brow, trowel still in hand. The shelf is finished and the knife rack is neat. The power cuts for a moment and comes back. Their life is the same, interrupted but continuing. He remembers visiting his mother. Tu Diem's gifts were refused. The sharp words hurt her. He remembers the days he had money and could buy anything, yet caused her worry. Now he has less and cannot buy much, but he only wants peaceful days with her. He thinks about digging drainage ditches, leveling ground for a chicken coop, raising animals so she has steady work. Regret for the past mixes with hope for tomorrow. Dusk falls. He looks toward the path she will walk. Physical work dulls the longing, but deep inside he wants to be beside her every day. His shadow stretches across the ground. Insects begin their chorus. Familiar footsteps sound outside. He lifts his head at once. She appears with the heavy basket. He hurries out with a bright smile and takes the load. His fingers brush her shoulder as if holding her whole day. She gives him cakes and noodles and says an old lady told her they were delicious, so she bought them for him. He stores everything carefully and proudly shows the new shelf. She sits and admires it, praising his skill. He asks if she is tired. She shakes her head, but says she missed him all day. He looks straight into her eyes and says he missed her too. The air becomes still. He asks softly if he can kiss her. She lowers her head and nods. Their lips meet, gentle but deep. The distance of the day disappears. They sit close, hands together, talking about making banana leaf cakes for the market and strengthening the farm. The last sunlight falls on their faces and all the fatigue fades. Night settles slowly over the small house. The oil lamp is lit and warm yellow light spreads across the old wooden table. Tu Diem cuts the cakes into thick slices. Rice cake and gai cake lie side by side. The scent of banana leaves, coconut and gak fills the air. Toan sits close to her and takes the piece she offers. He bites and nods at once, saying it tastes good. His eyes brighten when she feeds him another piece. They eat slowly, taking turns, their laughter soft but clear. The sweetness melts the fatigue of the long day. She says the flower pots outside are blooming well because they are watered regularly. He remembers when the plants were dry and weak and almost dead. Now they stand straight with buds. It is a small story, but it makes both of them feel light. There is no need to cook rice. Cakes and water are enough. Fullness comes from sitting next to each other. He says they should bathe soon to cool down. She lights the fire to heat water. The flame throws their shadows onto the wall. When the water is ready, they step outside to wash their hands first. The stream of water flows evenly through their fingers. She says tomorrow she will collect banana leaves to make cakes for the market. He nods and says he will clear the ground behind the house to build a chicken coop. Every sentence is a real plan that can be done immediately. They go back inside. The house is quiet except for the insects in the garden. She places the bowls onto the new shelf. Her fingers touch each wooden bar and she smiles. He stands behind her watching. The shelf is only tied pieces of wood, but it is straight and firm. For them, it is progress. He pours more water for her. She drinks and puts the cup down gently. They sit closer. No one raises their voice, only familiar questions. How much did you sell today? Are you tired? Was the road too sunny? The same questions every day, but never unnecessary. She says some people at the market wanted more corn, but she had sold out. Next time, she will bring more. He nods and calculates in his head how many seeds are left to plant again. The conversation stays practical, nothing distant. Outside, the wind moves through the banana trees. The leaves brush together. He says if they raise chickens, she will only need to feed them each day and will not have to walk far. She does not answer immediately. She just looks at him. That look is enough. She stands and clears the table. He gathers the remaining cakes and puts them into a basket. Everything moves slowly and naturally. He lowers the lamp to save oil. The house sinks into softer light. They step outside to wash their faces again. The water is cooler now and feels good on the skin. He gives her the towel first. She wipes her face and hands it back to him. Small actions repeated every day keep life in rhythm. Back inside, she spreads the mat. He folds his work clothes and puts them aside. The basket is placed neatly against the wall. Everything has its place. He lies down first and turns to leave space for her. She puts out the lamp and lies beside him. Familiar darkness surrounds them. There is no need to see to know the other is there. He wraps his arm around her. Her breathing becomes slow and even. He stays still for a long time. Nothing big happened today, but it is enough. He thinks about the morning when she poured water for him, about her walking on the red dirt road, about the kiss in the afternoon. She turns closer and places her hand over his. No more words are needed. Crickets sing outside. The night wind passes over the roof. He says softly that tomorrow he will wake early to dig the drainage ditch. She nods in the dark and says she will collect banana leaves before going to the market. Two plans connect into one. A long silence follows, but it is comfortable. Neither of them sleeps immediately. Each thought moves separately but in the same direction. He holds her hand more gently. He no longer thinks about the days when he had money. He only thinks about how to make sure she comes home every day with the same smile she has now. She breathes out softly and moves closer. For her, this small house is the only place she needs to return to. The sound of insects in the garden grows deeper. The village night is always like this, not loud but never empty. After a while, her breathing becomes steady in sleep. He stays awake a little longer. He looks into the darkness but sees tomorrow in his mind. The ditch behind the house, the growing chickens, the new rows of vegetables. He closes his eyes, his arms still around her. The sense of security comes slowly but firmly. Night holds the small house. There are no grand promises, nothing far away, only waking up tomorrow, continuing to work, continuing to wait for each other, continuing to eat at the same table and sleep in the same place. Peace lives in the things that repeat every day.
Một ngày mới bắt đầu bằng những lời dặn dò giản dị nhưng đầy yêu thương giữa Toàn và Từ Diễm trước khi mỗi người bước vào công việc của mình. Anh ở nhà đóng kệ, sửa lại bếp và nuôi hy vọng về một cuộc sống ổn định hơn. Còn cô ra giấy bẻ bắp tím mang ra chợ bán bằng sự chân thành và nhẫn nại. Những đồng tiền nhỏ gom lại thành niềm vui vì biết người kia cũng đang cố gắng. Khi chiều xuống, họ trở về bên nhau, chia nhau miếng bánh, kể cho nhau nghe một ngày đã qua và nói về những dự định rất gần cho ngày mai. Đêm làng yên tĩnh khép lại bằng một cái ôm nhẹ trong bóng tối, nơi mọi mệt mỏi tan đi, chỉ còn lại cảm giác bình yên vì họ vẫn còn có nhau.